This is just an additional message that they wanted me to add, and that I also want to share as a footnote with the previous video. The reason for, and I want to add for the radical Islamic infiltration into European countries and that later will happen in the United States, is I wanted to specify when I talked about in the other video, radical Islamic infiltration, I do not mean all people of Islamic faiths. What I do mean, though, is people who are radical in their beliefs. Now, the mainstream media does not report it, but there are things going on in a widespread level where women and children are being sexually assaulted in Europe. One such example is the Rotherham child sexual exploitation scandal, which took place in Rotherham, England between 2002 and 2007. It is the biggest child protection scandal in UK history. It involved several Pakistani men who perpetrated young girls between the ages of 12 and 17 years old. 12 and 16 years old. These girls were gang raped, were drugged, and allegedly were repeatedly abused by these men. The sexist attitude were towards these victims who are mostly working class and without fathers. These victims were particularly targeted because they were of a European background, and there is no respect in radical Islam for women of a Western origin, whatever race they may be. If they are Western, they dress in Western clothing, and even children, they are not respected. They are not considered human. They are simply sex objects and tools to be used. Now, when I mention radical Islam, this is what I'm discussing in the video. I am not talking about all Islamic people, but there is an infiltration of these types of people in European countries, and it will spread over to the United States with the socialist leader who will be voted in. As we let this infiltration take place further and further in the name of religious freedom and racial equality, when they say that people are being bigoted and not nice towards Islamic people, and because they don't want this kind of thing taking place in their country. When people start to resist this type of thing more and more, as it happens more and more, there will be more laws put in place, just as they are being put in place in the United Kingdom right now. There will be more laws eventually put in place in the United States blocking people's freedom of speech. This is what is happening in London and England and UK right now. If people say certain things against different groups of people, they can be jailed or fined for it. We have our freedom of speech still in the United States, but we are quickly losing it. It is not about hate speech. It is not about being mean to one group or another, but it's about having your liberty to say what's on your mind. That is what will be put in place, so we lose it. As more people come into countries that do not have a comparable or compatible belief system with others, there will be people in those countries who resist it because of things like the Rotherham child sex exploitation scandal. Sweden has the most sexual assaults in Europe out of any European country now, and it is run by feminists. Divine feminine does not mean feminist. Divine feminine talks about being feminine, using your emotions, nurturing, loving, but it does not talk about a militant desire to be fully equal to men. It is talking about embracing women as different. In countries like Sweden, where they have used militant feminism, they have gotten rid of the masculine in its both good and bad qualities. Because of that, their defenses are down. And because of that, in a socialist society like Sweden, they have allowed their country to be infiltrated by radical Islam. And because of this, they have a very high sexual assault rate. They have less freedom of speech in these countries. They are not allowed to speak out against things like this. The reason why the Rotherham child sex exploitation scandal went on for so long, allegedly, is because people were afraid, the police were afraid to do something about it due to most of these men being of Pakistani origin. They were more afraid of the freedom of speech that they do not have in their own country than they were afraid of what was happening to the little girls. We will see more of this happening in the United States with a socialist leader, and we will see less of an openness of freedom of speech, and we will see more and more of our liberties taken away. All of these events are leading up to this. All of these events are leading up to the socialist leader that we will eventually vote in. And the agenda that's happening in Europe right now with the European Union taking away freedom of speech, allowing more people into the country that do not have compatible beliefs with Westerners, is taking place on a large scale to make more excuses, to create more laws, to have more control. The radical Islamic people are being used as a tool to take away people's liberties. That is simply what they are being used as a pawn to take away others' liberties. The reason why I made a comparison between South American immigrants and radical Islamic immigrants is because South American immigrants do not pose the same issue that radical Islamic ones do. The reason being is because Catholic beliefs and values are much more compatible in their nature and from South America. They're more compatible with United States values, with values in Europe. They are more compatible. Whereas when you get into radical Islam, it is extremely incompatible with most westernized religions. Islam has not had reforms like other westernized religions. Does that mean I am saying that all westernized religions are, that all Islamic religions are bad, that Islam as a religion is bad? I mean, no, I am not saying that. There are good Muslims. But the problem is because this religion has not been reformed, there are more radical people within it. There are more people who do not agree with Western values, and most importantly, do not respect Western women of all cultures, of all colors, and who abuse their own women. This is why we see things that are being accepted as cultural differences, like female circumcision. Yet the left is talking about how they hate women not being paid as much, but they're ignoring young girls who are being circumcised, all for the excuse of culture. This is not cultural. This is abuse towards a group of people. And as this happens more and more in other Western countries, including the United States, when the socialist leader is voted in, we will see our freedom of speech taken away. Oh, you can't speak against that person. That's terrible to say that. You will get fined. You will go, be locked away somewhere. You will get in trouble for saying that. You will see your freedom of speech taken away. You will see your national security forces backed down. You will see those protections that were in place no longer there. And this is to break down society as a whole. This is to break down the society as a whole, so they vote in more laws, more protections, more handouts from the government to create a homogenous socialist society, because a homogenous socialist society can be further controlled under the thumb of one elite power. And we know what that one elite power is. That one elite power is influenced and controlled by the demonic forces, whose names I shall not say. Thank you again for watching. I just wanted to add to that original video.